Welcome into the I-80 Club, Wednesday night in the club.
In the club.
Josh and Jack with you. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're hanging out live, you are a patron. If you are listening before Friday, you are a patron. If you're listening after the fact, we would love to have you at patreon.com/I-80 Club. We do a lot of podcasts, and to get the full experience, every single episode that we do, commenting, all of that good stuff, inside info and more, patreon.com/I-80 Club for as low as $5 a month. $8 gets you onto our Discord server. Jack, we are 2 days away from a ton of stuff that we got going, and you are the king. You are the king of Nebraska fans, especially Nebraska basketball fans. I know I am excited. I was working on graphics earlier today. Oh, that is perfect. You have a crown. The king of the Andals, the king of Nebraska basketball fans.
Wearing it like Biggie, too.
He's right there. Oh, let me get a screenshot. That's great. It's going to be a blast, man. Friday is going to be so much fun. It's going to be so much fun.
I am excited about Friday until Nebraska loses, and then after that, I will not be excited about it. But excited about the fun we will have on Friday. A full day experience, a full weekend experience of the I-80 Club. A full weekend experience. Everything except for Saturday morning coffee will be available to the public. If I were you, I would get in on Saturday morning coffee. This would be the time I would join at least the content tier of Patreon, but I would actually join the community, to be honest, because you want to be a part of the Discord during all of these events on Saturday, Friday and Saturday, Josh. Yes. Holy cow. Great time to be in the live studio audience for a bunch of this stuff. Friday's going to be a blast. 11 o'clock, Caleb and I will have the brunch show, which is going to serve as a pregame between Nebraska and Creighton, kind of take the pregame vibe situation on Friday between Nebraska and Creighton. Then I'll take a little break, get some crap done in the afternoon, come back at 7 o'clock-ish, a little before 7 probably, flip the camera on, and I'm just going to react to the game. Josh is going to join us in some fashion. We're going to kind of feel it out, see what works for the night. It's going to be we don't know what to expect, to be honest, guys. Like, this is a first time we've done anything like this. I don't know how I'm going to react. We don't know how the game's going to go, so it's going to be a little bit hard. But we really hope that you'll keep us on a second screen during the course of the night. And then, of course, after the game, we'll have after Nebraska ball. That'll come on at about the game starts at 7, so probably about 9:30 on Friday night. And that will be Bigelow and Caleb. And you'll have probably heard enough from me by that point that I'll probably just turn it over to those two guys for the post-game show. They're smarter than me about basketball anyway. So,
Jordan, why not just have the stream rolling all day? Yeah, Jack, let's just make this an all-day affair.
What am I going to be reacting to all afternoon? What am I going to do? Am I going to watch?
One thing where you walked on your treadmill for like 12 hours. Maybe you just hang out and talk for 6 more hours.
We'll do that again sometime. I'll do some kind of a fundraiser and I'll do that. But
how about this from D'Lo? Plan to watch and take a shot after every ref complaint. Oh wow!
I might need that by the end. We'll see how the night's going.
Yeah.
I probably should just in case, have some champagne ready. I'm not saying I will, but like, I think we'll want it in that situation.
Just in case. So that's what's going on Friday.
Josh, do you remember the one that was sitting on my back deck last year?
I do.
I need to get that again.
Yeah. I can't remember. Did you have champagne on ice ready to go last year for when they finally locked down their bowl bid?
Yeah, was that what that champagne was for? I think it was for the bowl game, wasn't it?
I feel like it was.
And then we set it outside to stay cold, and it just sat there, and you could like see it in pictures I took. It was so sad.
Yeah,
I don't know when I eventually opened that at some point.
Yeah, well, that's good. So that's what we got coming up.
Probably just with lunch someday.
That's kind of what we got coming up Friday. Saturday, usual stuff, coffee in the morning, and then we will be on post-game show 9:30-ish. We don't know for sure. I have overreaction duties that I will be doing with Connor Happer at Cross Strain, so I'll have to make my way back to my humble abode. But we will keep everybody updated on that, and we will go live for 90 minutes.
For the love of God.
Yeah.
Please let us have a celebratory winning post-game I-80 After Dark. Please.
That would be lovely. That would be absolutely lovely.
Please, if you're going to make me do after Nebraska, watch live Nebraska ball loss, after Nebraska ball loss, Wisconsin after a loss post game, like, come on, man. I am going to start just getting
the podcast. Jack will cancel the podcast if all of that happens.
It's sad that it won't be fun to watch anymore, I think.
Yeah, 2 straight days of you getting kicked in the nuts.
Yeah, I understand there's some level, but I feel like there's diminishing returns at some point on my page. I hope that's the case. I hope there's some limit to the amount of pain people like to see me experience. But
that'd be nice.
We could find out this week. We'll find out this week, won't we?
We could. So we have all that coming up. Subscribe, like, and subscribe. And by the way, we've also hit that 500 number. We're very excited about that. We got a lot of things going on. One more thing, Jack, before we get into the pod. If you are listening after the fact, you listen, you're not watching after the fact, you might have noticed some ads in your feed. Ad-free tier, ad-free pods, Jack, patreon.com/I80 Club. No ads when you subscribe to patreon.com/I80 Club.
It's a bummer. And let's talk about the football end of it then. So, like, in terms of what you're bringing back next year, right? Because you're losing the 2 guys you brought in as transfers, obviously.
Yep. Thanks, and they are.
So that means Lloyd and Barney are your top receivers coming in next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then in addition to that, does Carter Nelson stay at wide receiver? I guess. He's 3 then, right?
How's he feeling right now? How's he feeling about his use this season too? You know, like, I feel like, Jack, and this is more big picture, so I don't mean to get big picture so early after this discussion, but like the vibes following last year, even though they lost 4 in a row, were in such like this, man, people are feeling good. Very few transfers, very few portal guys. Didn't bring in a massive number of guys out of the portal. And hell, D'Lo brings them up. How's Lloyd feeling? No one is guaranteed to be back. And yeah, that kind of just leads into like, are we about to get into a period where we are like maybe not totally ready for things to really change about this program? Change about this program. Because it's
Barney, Lloyd, Carter Nelson, right? Top.
Yeah.
Probably top 3, right?
And hell, throw in Dylan too, man. Like it's.
No, I feel like just at the wide receiver position.
Yeah. But I think there should be a concern, you know, especially if they finish 5-7, and then Jordan didn't change the 5-7 roster and are going to finish 5-7 again. And yeah, that's fair. So like maybe crying over a bunch of players leaving when they're on a team that has sucked is like not that big of a deal. But I mean, I tend to think that the guys that you just mentioned, I tend to think Jalen Lloyd is talented. I tend to think that Carter Nelson is talented. I tend to think that a lot of these players.
I'm so excited about those 2 guys for sure.
You know, and so hopefully they're on Nebraska next year. Ultimately, Ja'Cory Barney.
I mean, they should add, but yeah, I mean, that's not the worst young nucleus, I don't think, right?
No, I feel like what I'm saying is maybe you're misunderstanding. What I'm saying is I'm concerned that the way that this season is ending is going to cause for a lot of players to kick the tires themselves on heading out.
It might be, but it's a different situation when you were redshirted at the beginning of the year as a sophomore.
Hey, 100%, but that's why I bring up Carter Nelson.
I'm just saying, all I'm saying is you may be right, but I wouldn't, you know, kind of expand and attribute this situation to anyone else.
No, and I'm not
saying you are either, but
no,
yeah.
I'm trying to have 2 different discussions that ultimately land in the same place, and that is a player leaving. Because we have talked about Malachi Coleman. So like I understand, you know, or at least I'm inferring a lot of I think what you're dropping there. The other players that I bring up though, that is traditional. I don't like how I am being used right now. Do you think Carter Nelson is happy with how he's been used this year? I would have to bet that he is very, very frustrated by how he is used. Do you think Jalen Lloyd is happy with how he's been used? I have to bet that he has been very, very unhappy. And D'Lo says it, 5-7, and I think a few more big names are gone.
You know, that's
and hell, Barney, dude, how many programs are watching Nebraska and saying, "Look at that guy"?
At least he's been used, though. At least he's been used.
But you know what they're going to say? We can use you better.
Oh, sure.
We can use you better.
Josh, if that's true and they lose, I don't want to act like this is a given, but if they would lose Nelson and Lloyd because of the way they were used this year, that would be so frustrating because the people they did use didn't do squat.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
because they probably should have. Because they're probably right.
Yeah,
they probably should have been more utilized.
Yeah. How about this from Matt? They have to throw McGuire under the bus. Rule has to mea culpa and bring in a big gun as a wide receiver coach. Look, you will say this. All right, I will say this. At least with Holgorsen, man, like the guy coaches wide receivers. He's coached wide receivers. So like that is a positive about his addition is that, you're going to have a player. I mean, look, Jack, the quote's already been making the rounds, about, what's up with your blocking? You're not blocking. You're not going to play if you can't block. And I know No Block, No Rock is now, it's a literal podcast in Husker land. But like that type of stuff that he showed up and immediately noticed it, something that we've been talking about for weeks, and Jack, seemingly it changed. That was one of the few positives about the game on Saturday, right? That the wide receiver, the perimeter blocking was good. And it's like, I was someone, and I said this on the show with Schaefer today, I was someone who loved the idea of the Garrett McGuire hire. Look at this guy, coach's son. I don't care that he's 23, 24. The guy knows football. He'll be able to command respect. And a lot of smart people are like, are you sure? Is he going to be able to command respect? And Jack, given how different the wide receiver blocking looked against USC, I feel like I already have to say I was wrong. And like I had already thought that, but man, to see how big of a difference it was, like it was like, okay, never mind. I was wrong.
Nair had 28 receptions. Banks has 32. Barney has 40. Just talking about wide receivers, who do you think is next, and how many do you think they have?
Say the first two again.
Has 28. Banks has 32. Barney has 40. Who do you think is next in terms of wide receivers, and how many do they have?
Wide receivers, because it's obviously
that's
a tight end would be next.
Fedoni has 30, if that matters.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh God, what a question! I mean, because what is Bonner? Is Bonner a wide receiver? Does he count?
Bonner's a wide receiver. Yeah,
he's Bonner's the answer, right? 12.
No, he's got 9.
Okay,
he's got 9.
Who's the answer?
Jalen Lloyd, and he's got 11.
That's wild. When did these targets happen? When did these targets happen? I remember 2 of them. Last week was 2 of them.
The Colorado game, he had 1. He's got 11 for 240, right? Averaging 21 per catch.
Wow.
He's averaging 21 yards per catch. Janiron Bonner has 9 for 56. Carter Nelson has 8 for 75. Alex Bullock has 1 for 12. Wow. Roman Mangini then is the next one with 1 for 11. Keelan Smith, Neil Smith's son, has 1 for 4. I mean, Josh, that's not enough. That's not enough throws to wide receivers.
No, definitely not.
When you have Dylan Raiola as your quarterback.
Yeah, I was going to say, and the whole passing offense has obviously not gone anywhere near the
the fake punt. There you go, fake punt. One of them, Dylan didn't even throw to him. That's a good call.
Wow. Damon. All of Dylan's completions were in the Illinois game only, right? Man, yeah, seriously.
So, you've got these 2 guys who are the main targets. I don't know how you wouldn't be frustrated if you're a wide receiver on this roster.
Goes back to what I was saying. It just, man, I mean, we've been talking about this so much lately, so this is not going to be some wild statement for me. But dude, don't you feel like the whole program right now under Matt Rule is about to come to a head? We talked, hey, what did we do all offseason about the Colorado game? It was a T. It wasn't left or right. And it's so wild that it wasn't. We were wrong. We thought you win that game, you're going to go one way. They won convincingly. And it doesn't really matter. The Illinois game became the T game. The Indiana game became the T game. But goddamn, Jack, does it not feel that this season comes to a T? The end of this year, these 2 games, Wisconsin at home and Iowa, it comes to a T. And it's going to go one way or the other, and that is going to shape the Matt Rule era. And I don't I think
it's true. I think I completely agree. And if it's 1-on-1, I don't know what that means, right? They probably the most likely result at least that would be you beat Wisconsin, you lose to Iowa, and then what? I don't know. But 2-0 and 0-2, yes.
Yeah. Especially, and maybe it's just because I'm expecting them to lose, and then I'm expecting them to lose again, and so I'm expecting it to be 0-2, and I'm expecting them to be 5-7, and so like I feel like, when you say 1-1, I'm like, yeah, what does that feel like? I know that we'd all be like, thank God they finally did it. They got the bowl berth, but 6-6.
I mean, we've already said this about 5-7, right? It puts him. They're not going to fire him, but
D'Lo says no coming back from 5-7. He won't be fired, but it will be over.
At least he's starting he has got to throw a no-hitter starting next year, basically.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Completely change everything, that in a way that is very, very difficult to do. 2-0, hey man, you can build. You can go forward on 2-0.
By the way, Josh, if it's 2-0, it's Dana City after that is what it is. Dana Holgerson City.
Oh yeah, 100%. You're beating your rivals. You're going to a bowl. You're feeling good.
No, but I'm just saying if it is going to be, because what Dana said on Wednesday or when today? When did Dana talk?
He spoke yesterday.
Yesterday. Jeez, what day? He spoke on Tuesday. Don't they usually talk later? Oh, whatever. He spoke today.
Tuesday. Yesterday. It's Wednesday. Today
I'm very confused. I'm very confused. Yeah. Dana put out so much red meat for the fan base that if things go a little bit better with the offense, he is going to have some disciples very quickly in this fan base.
Do you think so? Quickly. Interesting. Yeah. That wasn't the reaction that I got from yesterday, but
really,
maybe the people that I'm following are just so cynical. They're just so cynical about everything.
But there's got to be results to back it up afterwards.
Sure.
So yeah, you're cynical true. Now. I'm saying if things go well, then if they would go 2-0, there are going to be a whole lot of people that say, "Wow, Dana, right? It's on Dana. Someone finally cut the bullshit, said what needed to be said, coached the offense well." And there are going to be a lot of people that say, "Wow, okay, now that they've got him there, I really feel more confident." Assuming he stays on, I really feel more confident going into next year.
And then then the other category is they go 1-1, and it's like, what the hell do you do with that?
Yeah, it's a little harder. It's a little harder. It's still a little bit of that. But like Bayamon says, I'm already in love after one game. Like those comments, man, that was red meat, Josh. There were a lot of people who needed and wanted to hear exactly what he said. And there's no results to pair with it yet.
No, but that's scored 13 points.
But that's a little of what people wanted, was just to hear someone say, "Yeah, people suck. I'm going to take them out." Right?
Yeah.
Like,
isn't that interesting, Jack? That like, so what if you ultimately boil down what you're saying? It's like, I liked that the guy came in and is a straight shooter. Isn't that interesting? That it's like, well, why
they don't feel like, because the critique of Rule is that he's
not
either he's not, or that he is so concerned about doing right by his players, by all of his players, that he goes too far in the other direction. Yeah. I'm hearing a lot of that now.
Yeah, isn't that pretty interesting?
It was you and I talked at the very beginning of the Matt Rule era when we were super excited. Everyone was super excited about everything he said. We were like, but what will this be described as when it turns? It's like you get in a relationship with someone, you're dating them, and everything they do is cute and wonderful and great. But like the things that are idiosyncratic about them when you first dating become the things that annoy you years later when you're married. And we talked about that with Matt Rule. We were like, what's this? When people turn on him, what are they going to say about him? And we were like, talks too much, used car salesman platitudes, all of those things, right?
Yep.
It's happened. A little too, and we're seeing that happen right now. And the other thing, I don't know if we said it at the time, but the other thing is just like too concerned about doing right, especially by veterans, I think, on the team.
Yeah.
I think there's a sense of that. I'm not personally saying that yet. I don't know if I believe that or not, but I think that's one of the biggest critiques of him out there right now.
People are really annoyed that it is almost okay. So, I'm going to make a Cowboys comparison. So the conversation surrounding Dallas is not that Jerry Jones doesn't want to win. It's that he wants to win his way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I use that as an entry point to talk about Matt Rule and veterans, where it's like, for whatever reason, man, he really feels like he owes them something. He owes the veterans. Like, he doesn't just want to go to a bowl. He wants to go to a bowl because of the veterans. He wants the veterans to be the reason that they go to a bowl, which, like, that's cool, you know? But, man, don't you just want to go to the bowl? Don't you just want to do it? But I also would say this, Jack, to argue with that point, because I'm definitely not there with a lot of other people in terms of, like, the youth movement. Everyone's like, go youth, go youth, go youth.
I only feel that. I feel that at wide receiver. Like, that's where I feel it. And, I don't feel that on the defense. So, whatever, I don't feel that way on the defense at all. But, yes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, like, I feel like, you know, I'm not totally there with everybody, but I do know that people are they're really tired about that. And Jordan says it. The veterans are losers, though. Never won. Like, that's a critique, right, of this team. And, like, I know you're shaking your head a little bit, Jack, but it's also true because they have not. The most wins they've ever had in a season is 5. They've never gone to a bowl game. So it's like they are taught to lose, sadly, around here. So I get the critique, even if I'm like not all the way there about it.
I think it's true of some positions where there's been such little production. And again, wide receiver. It's, tight end.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think where else I would put that. Some after last week, a lot of people are saying defensive backfield. Right.
Well, they've been saying that for a while about Gifford, especially.
Yeah, Gifford.
They've been saying that for weeks. I mean, hell, since the Indiana game, I feel like it was.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Which is
Dilo says running back, defensive back. Who are the running backs? Like,
there's young running. That's the thing. Yeah. At least in defensive back, you got a ton of guys.
Yeah.
Running back, I don't know. You don't have. That's a total. I think those are two totally different situations.
Hey, what do you think about this? Happer and Mitch Sherman were talking about this on their pod this week. I mean, what does it say that the best defensive back is the guy that arrived in August?
Yeah, man.
Isn't that wild?
It's crazy. It seems, you know what the funny thing is? Isn't it weird? It feels like people throw his way I don't know if they're staying away from Tommy Hill now, now that he's back, but have you just noticed how many plays it feels like they throw to receiver that Sierra Wright's covering instead of Tommy Hill?
Yeah.
Directly.
Riss and I were talking about that on Sunday. I don't remember what happened or who got an interception, but somebody got an interception, and she was like, it's really interesting because the counting stats for a defensive back are like interceptions. Like that is the stat that we all look at. And so to get interceptions, you have to be targeted. And so like coaches have to think so little of you that they're going to throw it to you, but you also have to be good enough to intercept the ball. But it's like Deion Sanders in his prime wasn't getting a ton of interceptions because they weren't throwing it at him. And so it's really the quandary of interceptions are pretty fascinating when you think about it from that perspective. It's like, why does that guy have so many interceptions? Well, because they keep throwing it at him. Yeah, but he's also making the plays. It's like, right. Yeah, but they obviously don't think
Watch the Purdue game. They thought, I don't know, I think they probably thought Wright was going to be weak because he played and Hill was hurt in that game. They threw exclusively at Wright almost the entire game. It was like, I've seen a few teams look like they've done that, like thrown exclusively. And to his credit, like he's done really well with it. He's done incredibly well with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, listen, I've got nothing. Hill's had problems since he's.
Oh, he was brutal on Saturday. Like he missed multiple plays.
Maybe at the end you're going to be vindicated on him after all.
Dude, right? God, now that you mention that, yeah, last year that was a player.
Like everybody I was giving you such a hard time about being out on him, and then he had the pick 6, but then since then,
well, yeah,
he got hurt. We got hurt, obviously. He was out a lot, but has there been even a play since then?
No, I mean, I'm sure he has 1 or 2 in there, but man, it's like. He is, and Skurzo 4. I think that proves the point of older guys knowing how to lose.
Maybe.
Man,
I don't know.
That's tough. I still can't believe, Jack, that these are the conversations that we're having about this stuff, man. I really cannot believe that the season, like, it's one thing to say is the offense as good as we think it is. Like that was the debate that we had in September, and like is the defense taking a step back? Like, it has gotten so existential. Yeah, it's gotten so existential around here. Biff says it's insane in year 2. It's crazy. It's crazy that this is the point that the program has reached yet again. D-Lo, Chasing 3 also bugs me. Put out an episode, cowards. Yeah, I had one of my every now and then.
I don't want to watch it. I don't want any of that. Every now and then
I have a tweet that I'm always like, wow, that's the one that like hit with people that as I always like referring to it, breaks contain. I tweeted about that because one of the listeners of Unsportsmanlike Conduct tweeted at John and I, did Nebraska just essentially cancel Chasing 3 nothing since the Rutgers game? And so I quoted it, and 65,000 people have seen that tweet. It's like, what? I was just making a joke about, like, it's pretty funny how they put out new episodes now. Ha, ha, ha. And everyone was like, I guess obviously people care because people really like Chasing 3, but pretty crazy.
I wouldn't want to watch it after losses either. So I kind of don't blame them, right? Like, it's not, the juice isn't worth the squeeze after losses because nobody's going to watch it, right? It's not going to be a great marketing piece like wins are. So I kind of understand that, but it's but the other thing is, though, sometimes we generalize so much about the veterans and the losing mentality that we just cast it on everyone. And like, I'm still not going to do it on Ty Robinson. Like, I think he's had a really, really good year. I think Nebraska's defense would be so much worse if he weren't on it. So much worse.
Yeah.
Like, there are a lot of people who are just like, get him out of there, get somebody who's young in there. It's not, they'd be screwed. He's been ridiculous. He's been really good. But somebody said that, the problem, JP said, the problem is the older guys passing losing mentality down. What I don't freaking understand, and there's a lot of people are losing. They've got a losing culture, and then it continues in the program. They pass it down. Everyone else breaks this cycle, Josh.
Yeah.
Every other team gets into a cold stretch, right? For years, maybe. For a decade, perhaps. But they always break out of it somehow. Yet Nebraska can't. Yeah. Changing coaches, changing players. Like, what do you do? Do you just get rid of the entire roster and start over? Like, what do you do if you think that's actually the issue? Because it's not just changing coaches at this point.
Yeah, it's weird because there was a listener who reached out to me last week and said something like, at what point will everyone around here just agree that Nebraska will never win more than 5 or 6 games in a year? And I'm like, okay, that is like such defeatist loser mentality to me. Obviously they will win. There will be a time, there will be a season, I guarantee it, before I die, where they win more than 6 games. Like, it's going to happen. Like that. Of course it is. But I do very much understand but how can they not? What is it? What is so difficult? And Jordan and D'Lo both bring up that other programs, did master roster flips. These programs, like, I don't understand how Vanderbilt can do what they do, and yet it's impossible for Nebraska to be.
There's all kinds of teams who have done this without bringing in all of James Madison, right?
Yeah.
There's tons of teams who have.
So I just don't. And I don't know what the answer is, because it sometimes, it does just really seem so simple. I watch college football every week, and I also watch the best teams, right? So, like, I see they're not on the same level of that team. I understand why they are not, that team right now. There are a lot of other teams that I'm like, why can't they do that? What? Arizona State was left for dead. What the hell? They have like a 30-year-old coach. They have a young millennial head coach and what are they now? 7-3?
They brought in a crappy quarterback from Michigan State,
Yes, that Nebraska was in on, Jack. Nebraska was in on that player, and their backup was Nebraska's shitty quarterback last year. That is who they brought in at quarterback. Again, they have a super young, like a 32, 33-year-old coach. That's the team that team can figure it out, and Nebraska cannot. Colorado, and look, I get it. They have a rock star head coach. They have one of the most famous athletes of your lifetime and my lifetime in Deion Sanders. I get all that. They also had one win 2 years ago. They won one game in 2022, and now they are 8-2, and they will be favored to go to the Big 12 championship game in their next 2 games. They are favored this weekend against Kansas, and they'll be favored in their final game as well. And if they win those games, they are playing for a trip to the playoff. And look, I get it. They got the Heisman Trophy winner on their roster, and they have a top 5 quarterback. I understand it. But it's football. This is not basketball where one guy can make you that much better than everybody else. You still need lines. They've done it. They've figured it out.
Josh, Iowa State, Illinois.
Iowa State. Indiana. I mean, like, I know that we talk about them every other day now. But, dude, Indiana is playing, in theory, for either a trip to the playoff this weekend or, like, just to completely lock up their seat, to lock up a home game, whatever it is. That's what Indiana is playing for, and Nebraska has to scratch and claw. You know? They have to scratch and claw.
Illinois.
Yeah, what are they, 7-3? Illinois is 7-3?
Been consistently solid and, sent a couple of guys from the NFL a couple of years ago, right? Obviously, Danny DeVito's son is starting for the Giants, but, there's not a – oh, crap. Husker for MU is back.
Oh, did you not see that? Yeah, he rejoined today. He rejoined. I got home, and there was the email from Patreon. Welcome back.
All they needed to do was Marquette beating Purdue, right? That's all we needed. That's all we needed. I figured that might do it.
Yeah, awesome. D'Lo, literally every other Power 4 team in the past 7 years figured it out at least.
Exactly. Who is not right? That's exactly right, D'Lo. There's no one who just can't figure it out for a massive stretch, especially if they've got some level of resources. Vanderbilt's been up until this year, right? But has been bad for years and years.
Kansas was a freaking tire fire, Jack, and they are and like they have been actually good the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. This year Kansas took a step back, and people are like, what's wrong with Kansas? If you have to ask what's wrong with Kansas, you know that the coach there is doing a tremendous job, because who gives a shit about Kansas football?
The drought here the drought here during the time we are having the drought here is unprecedented in college football.
Well, the Stumanji stat, and I think Stumanji is in here tonight. Is Stumanji in here tonight? Can I get a Stumanji in the chat? Yeah, he was here earlier. The stat that he found the other day about coaches and consecutive games lost when they have 5 wins and they're 1 win away from bowl eligibility. Like, Jack, that stuff is impossible. How that stuff that Nebraska has now lost 9 games when they were at 5, and 8 of them are in the last 2 years. I mean, what are we talking about?
And Josh, let's be honest, right? Like, now, right, it's easy now to critique Rule. It's easy now to trash Frost. But they did it other places. They legit did it other places. Yeah. They did more difficult success stories, by far more difficult success stories in other places they were than they're being asked to do at Nebraska. But they can't do it here.
Yeah.
Scott Frost, Matt Rule.
Yeah, because it was like, Jack, and how about that iFormation just posted a tweet from Pick 6 Previews. Nebraska's officially posted the worst decade of any blue blood program in college football history. 68 losses from 2015 to 2024. Previous numbers for worst, it looked like, was 52. 52 losses for USC. 51 losses for Alabama. That is crazy. So, Jack, what you just said, and there was a comment along those lines from Bayman. Our last 2 coaches were considered incredibly good hires. This is not.
They were good hires. I'm not going to say,
This isn't Mike Riley failing, right? Like, it's like, yeah, that was weird. Of course. This isn't Bill Callahan. Yeah, that was weird. And what's funny, of course, about Mike Riley and Bill Callahan is their eras were infinitely better, especially Callahan's. Infinitely better than what we have seen.
All you got to say is they both did harder turnarounds before Nebraska.
Yeah.
They did harder turnarounds than Nebraska before Nebraska.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they can't do it. They can't figure it out.
Yeah.
going crazy. They're having problems. They changed their demeanor, everything. I got so annoyed when Bo Pelini said, I believe on the second audio tape, he said something to the effect of, "It's different here, even different than Baton Rouge." Remember this? He said that on the second audio tape that they taped at North Star. And he was like, he's like, people don't get it, but it's different here. It's harder here. I was so angry when he said that. I was like, dude, that's such a cop-out. And I didn't like Bo. And so
it's like, Bo, stop being a bitch.
I was inclined. I was like, exactly. That's how I felt about it.
That's how I felt. Yeah. It's like, stop whining.
I'm questioning myself right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you don't look at what's happening. And I know everyone thought the solution was just fire Satterfield or just hire a new head coach or all of these things. I can't imagine how you don't look at it now and say there is something systemic about this place that makes it harder than anywhere else.
Yeah, Adam says, I don't know how you wonder, and this is a topic that I know that we have hit on, not you and me, but like John and I have talked about it. Dirk came on and talked about it before. And Dirk's going to join us next month. And honestly, this might just have to be the discussion, no matter how they finish the year, Jack. But Adam writes, I sometimes wonder if the enormity of this program stands in its way. The media, the coach exposure, all of it. There's too much interest for such a shitty team. But I think what he says in the last line is maybe the part that I have maybe not really thought of like I should. We've talked about, do the fans hold this place back? Do the media hold this place back? Like, we've had that discussion a million times. But the last thing, there is too much interest for such a shitty team. What a fascinating way to describe it, because that's true. Like, when Bo said that, I was like you're an idiot. Go coach at Alabama. They're wanting to fire Kalen DeBoer because he wore a T-shirt. Like, settle the hell down. But there is an incredible amount of interest around here for such a bad team. They are so bad. They have been bad for a decade. And so it's like, I don't know. I don't have an answer to this question.
I don't have an answer either, but it's hard not
to stop doing the podcast, stop doing the radio show.
Right. Like Josh, it's like hard. It's hard to conclude. It's hard to conclude anything other than, yeah, it is different here. It's harder here than almost anywhere else because of the results, because it's happened multiple times with multiple people and they're good coaches and they get here and it goes to shit. Right. And you've had these unbelievable results for year after year. All that said, I don't know that I can put my finger on exactly what it would be here if it's different, right? Obviously, there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of interest in a ton of places. That's not unique. Yeah. That is not unique.
So what is it? What is it? Where is it different?
That's what I'm just saying. I don't know. Like, it's a great conversation. I don't know. Where else is it? How else? Where else is it different? Like, what? You almost have to ask Scott Frost and Matt Rule and Bo. Mike Riley and Bo,
Yeah. And you get it.
What feels, and Bo maybe more than anyone, but like, okay, so what is it, man? What is so different between this media group, this fan base, this university, and LSU? Right.
Well, and Biff hits on, but I want to use this as a spinoff because he says it's not harder here. And he emphasizes not. It's not harder here. We've hired dog shit coaches. There's a reason they're all unemployed except for Bill Callahan. Okay. So that's definitely true, right? Like, Scott Frost is an analyst in the NFL. Mike Riley doesn't coach anymore.
So it was just fluky for Frost and Rule before they got here.
See, but that's what he's saying. No. So real quick, Frost, he's not coaching right now in a full capacity. Let's see what happens with him if he ever becomes a coach again. That does not explain Matt Rule. Matt Rule had success at Temple. Matt Rule had success at Baylor. Matt Rule got hired into the NFL. Like, he is he has been a good coach at multiple stops. Mike Riley was a guy that coached at Oregon State twice. In between there, he went to San Diego and coached the Chargers. But he was solid, right? Like, Bo had never been a head coach before. And yet, obviously, we know the story. We're not going to relitigate it. Scott Frost had one just lightning strike of a season. But as Huss says, the book is not written on Rule. It's definitely not. But man, I mean, D'Lo kept saying it earlier. Coaches come here and they get dumber.
Yeah,
I will say this.
I agree. Frost and Rule got dumber here. Absolutely.
I will say this. I do think I think as we talk this out, I am now in the mindset of this place is different, and I think it's different because I think that Rule right now is different. I think that this place is getting to him. I watched his press conferences, man, and I listened to him, and you know how people who watched the 1960 stick to sports, they watched the 1960 debate between Nixon and JFK. They saw something that the people who listened on the radio didn't see because they were listening on the radio. Dude, I watched the press conferences when on Mondays and Thursdays, and I think that they look way different than they sound right now in a bad way.
I just listened. I didn't watch the last
Every
one.
time I watch it now, I'm just like, I feel like this place is getting to him, and I think, Jack, the first part that really hit me that something was changing was, for months, he said it all last year too, but for months this season, it was like, no, it's not about a bowl. 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 And then a couple weeks ago, he's like, yeah, we got to get to a bowl. And I was like, oof, it's changed. He didn't do that shit last year, and now he's saying it this year. I think something's going on.
Both Frost and Rule, very different ways, came in super confident in what they could do.
Oh yeah. Super
confident, and then they realize, oh shit, I'm not doing it. Oh, maybe now I will though. I'm confident. Whoa, still not doing it. Whoa, still not doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you start to panic because you're so confident in yourself. And you're sure you can do it. It's incredible, the parallels, honestly, between the two of them.
Yeah. And it was so easy. It was so easy with Frost. It was so easy with Frost to figure out why it wasn't working, right? Like everyone always, we had TJ Burkle on this summer. And I would say that those who are, not Frost defenders, but those who lean, like, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. They always ask that question. Why did he fail? And it's like, I can give you a million reasons. He didn't put in all the effort. He was lazy, really bad communicator, brought in a bunch of coaches that shouldn't have been coaching in the Big Ten, a variety of things, right? Like, it's so easy for me to figure it out. I don't know what to say about Rule. Like, I get it. Like, there was a comment from Matt a couple of minutes ago about the league is probably harder. We need a coach who will do what top SEC coaches do, hire proven assistants. All right, that's fine.
And that's all it is. Maybe it's just bad assistants for both of them.
But Jack, it's like it still doesn't explain everything. It does, in my opinion, that does not explain everything because I do think that he's smart and I do think he knows what he's doing. The guy was at Temple and Baylor, and he was identifying players based off of traits and getting them into the NFL. Like you got to be a freaking developer, an identifier of talent to be able to do that.
I agree.
And now, Jack, we started the pod by talking about how a player's leaving. And then for the next 5 minutes, we explored, are they going to lose other players too? And then it's like, if that happens, that plan of the slow development over years and years, it goes out the window. That you can only have the development over a long period if the guys stay over a long period. And maybe I'm getting over my skis, but just worried about it all.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's really interesting. It is really interesting. I have no and Rule seems like he's become a worse on-field coach than he was.
Yeah, I would agree.
I would agree. They've just all gotten so much worse when they're here. Talk about developing players, the coaches have gotten undeveloped while they're here. Every time. Every single time.
We hit on Sierra Wright earlier. Isn't that like, man, that sucks. Sierra Wright, the guy who came in out of nowhere and he's the best defensive back.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like he hasn't been gotten dirty yet,
Yeah. Yeah, he hasn't gotten infected.
He got here in August, July.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe Dylan should have showed up in August because he'd still be having the good play a little bit longer.
Man, yeah, I know. It is hard not to read it as a curse. It's really hard. If there's a better explanation, I would love to hear it. I would love to hear it. Like Bigelow said earlier, I'm trying to see where I got to go back up. He said, being the head football coach at Nebraska isn't just being a football coach. You're basically a politician who is eternally running for election. And now you're, I lost where. Or now you're actually fundraising all the time with NIL. Couple that with how many people want your ear. You're the most famous man in the state. Politicians, former players, schools with legitimate football tradition and recent success in the SEC don't have half the coverage locally as Nebraska has here. The fishbowl is real. It's very real. Is it different? I don't know the answer. I haven't spent enough in SEC country.
Yeah, Bitt says, I'm not calling you out or even disagree. He says, but do you seriously believe this? Nebraska has more attention than the SEC where it just means more. I really have a hard time believing that.
I kind of do too.
Yeah.
Which is why I was super skeptical of Bo when he said what he did.
Yeah. Yeah, Nebraska has a lot more attention than like the bottom feeders of the SEC, but I don't. Again, maybe we are too insulated with this question, Jack, and maybe this is one of the ones where you ask the outsiders,
Yeah, I don't know what it's like. I mean, I obviously don't know what it's like in any other program like I do it at Nebraska.
Yeah, he says LSU doesn't have multiple newspapers and multiple recruiting sites covering them each and every day. Is that true? That can't be true. That LSU?
They got to have a Baton Rouge and New Orleans.
They have a Baton Rouge. They have a Times-Picayune. Yeah, that can't. I mean, look, maybe I'm wrong, but that place is crazy. That place is insane.
LSUfootball.net/TV. LSUfootball.net/TV schedule is covering them, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I think that the fishbowl here is crazier than USC? Yeah, obviously.
Well, USC.
Like, do I think it's crazier than Ohio State? I don't. I don't think this place is more nuts than Ohio State. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong, though.
No.
Auburn had a fan poison a tree.
And by the way, hold on a second.
What are we talking about?
Time out. We've watched this is not New York media situation either, by the way. I mean, all I hear about the media is that they don't ask the tough questions. So what are we talking about in terms of, it's not, let's be honest. I mean, if the stereotype about the media is anything in Nebraska, it's that they're too easy on the program.
Yeah, just because I mean, in theory.
What are we talking about here with the media?
Shouldn't that be a positive? Like, there's so many media that are writing like all these positive questions about Nebraska football.
And I mean, sometimes I push back on that, but it airs more that way than, being a New York Yankees beat writer, right?
Yeah. Yeah. JP, does NU make decisions that don't fit our inherent strengths because of who we want to be and not who we are? I think so, and the media/fan base have a lot to do with that. Now, that is a very interesting question that, man, we just got so big picture tonight. But that I think about that question all the time, Jack, about, and I was someone who pushed back for years, they just need to run the option again. And it's like, sometimes I do wonder, like, do you just try to do the old thing as well as humanly possible? Recruiting rankings be damned. But, I don't know.
I don't know, man. I mean, Rule tried too hard to do that too, right? And try and sort of meld the old with the new. And Scott Frost maybe tried to do that too, right?
Yeah.
Meld the old with the new. Maybe the things we liked about Rule sort of seeming like he understood this place when he came in were actually a negative. Right? I mean, he was like, he paid tribute to the old, he calls Tom Osborne. He wants to be
that shit is stuff that I don't like. I hate that they have to kiss the ring, man. D'Lo, one of D'Lo's things lately has been this, because he writes this time, we worship the coach before he puts on a headset. Save us, coach. Like, that's not unique. Coaches getting hired at universities and the fan base saying
new
this
coaches
is going to be
everywhere.
The guy. This is going to be
every
the
new
guy.
coach is like that. Yeah,
it's like that everywhere. What can you? I want to know who these schools are that hire new coaches. Brian Kelly was like, it was like, thank God, finally LSU. This was LSU fans. Thank God, we finally have an adult in the room. We finally have someone that doesn't have a stupid accent that will embarrass us. Their words, not mine. Yeah, Auburn booed Gene Chizik at the airport. Auburn is insane, though. Like, I'm talking about most other schools. I don't want Nebraska to be Auburn. If the choice is, why isn't Nebraska more like Auburn, losing their minds, booing a coach in an airport, or
By the way,
more excited about
Nebraska
coaches,
basically did that. A bunch of Nebraska fans basically did that with Riley too.
That's true. Mike Riley was not viewed as a savior when he got hired. People were freaking pissed.
Yeah,
by
a lot of the fan base.
Yeah, like, look, I'll make fun of Nebraska fans for a lot of things, but hoping that the next coach is going to be good and believing in the next coach when they get hired is not something that I am willing to like. That's not the thing that makes oh man, Nebraska fans are idiots. But, D'Lo's been on this for months, and it goes back, I feel like it goes back to the grass discussion with Memorial Stadium where Rule has so much power. Huss says, we're basically Tennessee. Let's hope we see a similar upswing. Yeah, that's a good comparison. It's a really good comparison.
I don't know. Yeah, it feels like they got to hire someone who is completely as removed from this place as possible.
Yeah, but that was
Rule, doesn't want to play to the fan base, right?
That and man, Maybe. I mean,
Rule definitely wanted to play to the fan base.
Hey, yeah. Say what you will about Saban, right? Saban didn't do that shit. He walked in there and he was in charge. But did they give him a lot of power? They gave him a lot of power. He was able to control that program in his own image. That said he won in year 2, and then they were off to the races.
And then on top of all this, Josh, the fact that this fan base has been through a traumatic experience for 15 years, that's impacting things, right? And I get it. You're bringing in new players, new coaches, everything else, but that the fan base has been through that the university has been through that, and it's been complete the groin kick era, Josh, that we've been through the groin kick era that they haven't seen all of, but it starts to rub off too.
Yeah.
We ask questions about it. We think about it. We talk about it. It's all we talk about, right?
Yeah.
Not surprisingly. And so that eventually has an effect too.
It's living rent-free in all of our heads.
I hate that saying, but I guess so. It's Creighton week, so I'm going to start to hear that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Get ready. Wow. This was not the pod that I was expecting to.
No, me neither. Not at all. Not at all. But
I think the Malachi stuff kind of screwed up the mojo from the jump, and it just went into existential land.
No, I think it's a good conversation. I'm glad we had it. I'm really glad we had it because I do believe in as much as there's always the conversation, well, it's this assistant, right? It's this coach. Whenever I'm skeptical of that, Josh, it's because I believe it's not that easy. And part of the reason I believe it's not that easy is because in the end, I think there's something systemic here too. And you can call it a curse, right? You can call it the groin kick era that will never end, whatever it is, or you can call it the media atmosphere, the fan atmosphere, all of those things, the need to be a politician, the role the coach plays. But I do think there is something here that, again, I was furious at Bo. I thought he was a bitch when he said that. I think I was wrong. Yeah. I think I was wrong about that. What 10 years ago?
Maybe we need to do a study this offseason, and we need to bring on various people who cover various programs and ask them, like, hey, how many fan podcasts do you have? And how many newspapers do you have at practice and all of these things? And maybe we can get a better idea on why our fishbowl is so different.
And there's
I say that
honestly, Josh, the other thing I would add on to that is just the freaking terrible ass situation you've got when you had unlimited success for people my age and older. Okay. Mm-hmm. And sort of the ego that comes along with that. And that makes it unbelievably difficult at this point, right? Because it is so hard to meet standards. It's so freaking hard to take steps and meet standards, right? We've got an entire generation of fans that don't want to get too excited about beating Wisconsin or Iowa, those sorts of things, or pick whatever your thing is about living in the 90s, right? Or still having the mentality of having gone through the 90s that don't want to set their standards too low for anything. It becomes so hard with that to make incremental success for any coach because you've always got that lurking in the background. I think that's another one of the systemic things.
Yeah, how we just are like, no, they're not our rival. So stupid.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of parts of that, so.
Well, if you made it to the end of this podcast and you are not a subscriber to the I-80 Club, I promise you this. It's not always this depressing, but
no, I mean, it usually is.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, I guess, but it's a bit more
it's just
jovial.
like smaller picture, like depressing.
You know what? I will say this. One of the things, like you and I both host radio shows. On radio shows, there are commercial breaks. There's a clock. You have to follow all these things, and you can't say like words like shit. One of the things that I love doing with you on this is like we really can stretch our legs a lot with these types of discussions, and so that's a long-winded way of saying this. If you like discussions like this, we would love to have you as a subscriber at patreon.com/ID Club. We have a great community in here that sometimes we agree with them and sometimes we disagree with them, and that's what makes it a whole lot of fun. And we have a really killer few days upcoming. Jack will be doing a watch party with me, riding shotgun, or I guess will Jack be riding shotgun as I read the comments? Either way, it'll be that on Friday night, putting together all the graphics for that. But Friday as well, Nebraska Ball Brunch Show with Jack and Caleb in the morning. Bigelow, who has been hanging out in the comment section tonight, he will be on with Jack and Caleb for After Nebraska Ball, 9:15, 9:30ish. Following the game, Bigelow will be live from the arena. And yes, as Dave Fight says, Jack Cam. The Jack Cam will be on. We'll start at about 7-ish, Jack. Right, we'll be on at 7. We'll probably take a break during the first half, but or halftime. But we'll be on for a couple of hours on Friday.
Yep, it's going to be a great time. If they lose, I think I'll probably just let Caleb and Big. I'll probably just like sit in this window like this, staring at the camera, and just say,
"Perfect.
What did you think about the game, guys?" That sort of situation. But I'll have hopefully been entertaining for a couple of hours by that, before that. And then the morning after, like literal hours after that, Josh, we get on here. And okay, take what we just did now. Okay.
Yeah.
We all did it. We all had our moment. Compartmentalize that.
Yeah.
Put it aside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Saturday freaking morning, one of the problems is that nobody can let themselves just get excited without the context of everything else going on.
That's why we had to do this on Wednesday. Because Saturday morning, coffee
by the way,
is about Jack holding up bowls.
I'm back here Saturday morning, and you know where I'll be. I would appreciate if you as a fan. I'm going to the game on Saturday, by the way, okay? If I have to single-handedly change the mother effing atmosphere in that building, I will do it.
Oh God,
I will do it. None of this sort of dissatisfaction cloud that's hanging over the entire thing. I am there with one purpose: not to comment on the state of the program, on the future of the program, on assistant coaches. I am there to will them to a damn victory. And if they don't win, we can talk about that other stuff later. I hope you'll join me if you're there in doing that. And I hope you'll join me, even if you aren't there, in that spirit on Saturday morning, because that's what I'll be here to do.
Jack, what do you think about this idea from Matt? Are you bringing your bowl? I think you need to bring the bowl. Maybe not that one. Maybe you bring a paper bowl. Either way, bring a bowl
on the field
and wave it around. Hey, why don't we start a movement? Fans, bring a bowl to the game on Saturday afternoon. Put your Pepsi in there, drink out of the bowl, bring a bowl to the game. Bring it. Bring it. Bring it. Bring it.
Maybe I'll do that. Yeah.
Bring a bowl.
Here we go, everyone.
I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. Raise the bulls like the shoes on kickoff, says Alex. I love that idea.
Figure out how to put aside all of the pain, all of the dissatisfaction, all of your own solutions to fix what ails in this program and come together and be normal freaking fans for a minute. Can we do that?
Yeah.
And then if they lose, we can Saturday night, we can break it all down again.
We can party. Yep. So Saturday morning coffee, 9:30, post-game show after dark, ID after dark, 9:30ish. Depends on when I get home for Bigger at Overreaction. So that is what we have coming up this weekend.
Keena, oh my gosh.
Nothing says desperation like writing, I'm not giving up on a cereal bowl. Classic. Jordan, did I hear it right? Jack is packing a bowl on Saturday? Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Jack. Hell yeah. All right, Jack. With that, we get ready to say goodbye. Again, yeah, that was fun. Again, Friday morning, evening, post game, Saturday morning, Saturday night, 5 pods still to come this week as we roll on into Thanksgiving week.
We're celebrating on one of them.
Josh Peterson. Right, thanks for joining us Wednesday night into Club inside of the IED Club. Goodbye.